Hey guys, welcome back to another Lexa Dixon video. I'm Lexa Dixon and you're watching my video. So this week's been quite an entertaining and interesting week for me. I've been back at work. My first day back at Rover. I had 2 half-day Lord of the Rings tours. I hadn't walked Mount Victoria for a very long time, so I didn't think I'd actually make it up the first time, let alone twice. But here I am, I'm alive, and I did it. So yeah, that was pretty exciting. I had 5 people in the morning trip, and I had 2 in the afternoon. And obviously went to Mount Victoria and did a workshop, and that was pretty exciting. And then on Saturday, I did the Tag tour. Now Tag is the Thunderbirds Are Go. It is where they go from Weta Workshop, and I take them to around the corner to the Thunderbird stage. I pick them back up and I bring them back to the Weta Cave, and do that at least several times. If you're not careful, you can get a little bit dizzy. It's a bit, you know. So while I was at the Weta Cave, I thought, hey, I'm in Miramar. I've got a little bit of time to kill today. Why don't I just show you guys the Wellington film studios? Now I know I've done that before, but this time I set up my camera like a dash cam pointing outside the window to kind of get some driving shots so you can kind of see a little bit more about the film studios. Now of course our first stop on the way was going to be Stone Street Studios. Now the green screen that you see once upon a time used to be a blue screen, but there were too many issues with the blue screen. Here in New Zealand and of course around the world, there's a lot of blue eyes, blue sky, you know, that kind of thing that really doesn't mix well with the blue screen. So now it's a green screen, much like the one behind me, just a lot bigger. And it's held up by 50 shipping containers. Now sadly, Stone Street Studios do not have a way that you can venture in on a tour because quite constantly they are filming. And as you can imagine in the contracts, they always stipulate no photography or anything while on set, so they don't want a lot of fans going in, swamping the directors and the stars and taking a million photos for Facebook to ruin the movies that they are creating. Now F&G Studio, that's there, stands for Frodo and Gandalf, and K Studio of course being Kong. Now K Studio is the biggest studio they have at Stone Street. K Studio is actually 24,100 square feet. Now travelling down this side, these are the only studios they had for Lord of the Rings. F, G and K were built afterwards. Prior to these stages being built, they were car parks. So in these studios, they had all the sets and everything built for Lord of the Rings. Nowadays, they're used for hair, makeup, and anything and everything else that's required for a film set, but enough away out of the action. Now this is Studio 7. You might have heard about Ian McKellen talking about having to act on his own in The Hobbit, and how much he really wanted to just quit the project because he couldn't handle it. So this here is Studio 7. This is the studio that Ian McKellen was working in. Now as we drive past the Roxy Cinema is a very beautiful Art Deco kind of cinema. It was recently acquired in the last 20 years by Jimmy Selkirk, who's editor of Lord of the Rings, and Richard Taylor, who's owner-operator of Weta Workshop. As you may or may not see as we drive past, you can actually see Gandalf. Now there's a bit of a running joke with Gandalf here. We have Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White. Us Wellingtonians, we call this one Gandalf the Bronze. Though it's quite commonly mistaken to be Radagast, because that's where the seagulls like to poop. Now here we have 127 Park Road. 127 is a purpose-built facility that offer Weta tours for larger groups. So whenever we have the cruise ships come in, this is where we take them to. It's much the same as the one at the Weta Cave, slightly different. And yeah, so that's 127. Now travelling down a little bit, we will see the Victoria University Media Centre. Now this is where all the young directors or filmmakers do their studies, and then they come out wanting to be mini Peter Jacksons. I mean, have you seen the man? Why wouldn't you want to be? I mean, I'm almost there. And next to that we have California Gardens. Now that's exactly what it was in its time, but California Gardens was closed down and brought by Sir Peter Jackson. I believe it was Sir Peter that brought it, but it was converted into a 360-degree green screen for Mortal Engines. Now, Weta's still trying to work out what to do with the facility, so at the moment it is literally a car park for Weta Workshop. One of the ideas that are in circulation at the moment is to convert it into a giant underwater film centre, so you can do all those kind of cool underwater scenes and stuff like that. Now, all of the buildings that you will see in this video look like they were old warehouses and whatnot. Park Road Post-Production is the only place that was built from the ground up. This here is where Peter Jackson works, and also where they have the editing facilities. Now, of course, if you're working long hours, you don't really want to have a drive back to the hotel or whatever. If you're a film director and you're there for a couple of days, well, it's only fitting that you sleep close. So inside Park Road Post, they have sleeping quarters, and they also have a cafe/restaurant. Now, also inside Park Road Post are 3 theatres. Now, they use one purely as a theatre. They use the other 2 for sound editing, colouring and all that kind of stuff, to be able to get that real effect and to be able to see what will be seen on the big screen, so they can get that true colour. Now, I don't really want to get into their volume and their speakers and everything. I can tell you that if you have 4 little speakers at home, the speakers at Park Road Post would knock those out of the park without even blinking. Of course, it's state-of-the-art kind of material. And as you can see down the driveway, it does veer quite a long distance. News just in. Park Road Post-Production, the front building may or may not have been an insane asylum. The rest of it behind it, well, okay, that was built from the ground up. So there you go, that's something I didn't know until I was presenting this video. So here we have 151 Park Road. This facility here is used for all your shipping. So if you're from overseas or even in New Zealand and you order something through the Weta shop, this is where it'll be dispatched. In the Lord of the Rings days, this was used for special effects. And one of the coolest effects that I've heard from one of the Weta tour guides is, if you remember Frodo and Sam, after they've destroyed the ring, they're waiting on the rock for the eagles to come and save them. Well, the lava that flows around them is purely made up by McDonald's apple pie sauce with a little bit of food colouring. How about that for Kiwi ingenuity? And of course, here is Weta Workshop. Now, Weta Workshop are the ones that make the props, weapons, costumes, all that kind of stuff that's required for film, and of course is home to the Weta Cave. Now, the Weta Cave is celebrating its 12th birthday today, so I decided to go in and have a bit of a nosy. Now, this facility here may just look like a school. Well, it partly is, but partly isn't. The big facility that you can see here is actually owned and used by Weta Digital. Weta Digital have about 10 or 12 different buildings around Miramar. So quite often, if you can see a building that doesn't have a street number or a company name, chances are it is a film studio or a soundstage. Now, one of the cool things about Weta is when it first opened, it was literally just Weta. Richard Taylor and his wife Tanya literally just did all their stuff at home. They converted their bed into a desk and they made sculptures out of butter. When it came time to do Lord of the Rings, there was only 30 staff there. 2 of those had worked on a feature film, 28 hadn't. So you can imagine that when Peter Jackson walked in and said, alright, we're shooting Lord of the Rings, 28 of those poor buggers would have shat themselves. By the end of it, they had 350 staff, And today we have Weta Workshop, Weta Digital, Stone Street Studios, Park Road Post Production, and they have around, I believe, 10 to 15,000 staff. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they work there full time, doesn't necessarily mean that they work there in Wellington. It just means that their name is on the employee list. And going back to Weta Workshop, did you know that there used to be an old talcum powder factory along with a hospital back in, I believe they said, World War II. So yes, a lot of these buildings and stuff have been used before for particular things, and then of course they have been restructured to suit the film economy. Now, one of the last facts that I will give you is 30 years ago, Sir Peter Jackson was asked, well, why don't you move to Hollywood, where all the big films are, you know, you'll be able to have a career there. Since that day, Peter Jackson put his foot down and said, no, I want to bring Hollywood here and make it better. And that's what he's done. If you don't believe me, then you're just going to have to come out to Miramar here in Wellington, New Zealand, and come and have a look for yourself. But there we go, guys. That there has been the Wellington Film Studios in Miramar. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Now I know that Lexa has shot a little bit of an end video, so let's shoot to that. Alright team, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's video. A little glimpse into the film studios here in Wellington, and me getting back into the swing of things. Before we leave, just wanted to show you a couple of things I managed to pick up from Weta Workshop. They're celebrating their 12th birthday, so they had a few pretty good specials going on at the moment. I'm a big fan of pop vinyls and mini epics. Now, mini epics usually cost between 49 New Zealand. They can go as cheap, I think, as 39 New Zealand, so around there. But Weta Workshop, they had 2 for 55 or 4 for 100. So I went ahead and got 4. The ones I've got at home at the moment are Gollum, and my second one that I ever got was Sam. These are the 4 that I got today. So we'll start with the most mischievous and cheeky hobbit. Here is Pippin, played of course by Billy Boyd. I'm sure you've all seen the movies, if not you need to. This here is my fiance's favourite hobbit, Merry. He's probably the most sensible out of Merry and Pippin. Really good friends with Pippin is Merry, so yes, this is Merry. Of course I had to get the ring bearer himself, Frodo Baggins. Of course he is partially the hero of the film, in my opinion. Samwise Gamgee is more of a hero. This one here is played by Elijah Wood. Merry, who I showed you before, was Dominic Monaghan. You might know him from Lost. But yes, here is Frodo Baggins. And lastly, now that I've finished the hobbits, I can start collecting the others. So here is Gimli, played of course by John Rhys Davies. Fun fact, he only played Gimli, I think, what, 10% of the time or something? A lot of this information's gone from my head, not having done these tours for 4 months. But that was because he was allergic to the prosthetics. So yes, these are the 4 mini epics that I got today. Pretty proud to have them in my collection. Still got the rest to go, of course. So I'll just wait for the next special, of course. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. Share it around to your other Tolkien enthusiasts or movie buffs. I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate this video. Comment below with what's one thing you've enjoyed Weta Workshop working on that isn't Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. There you go. Might have to do some research to see what they've worked on. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button and tickle that little bell icon to get all notifications. But as usual, I will catch you on the flip side! Hey guys, if you enjoyed this week's video, don't forget to check out these socials here. Smash that subscribe button. And YouTube, and I reckon you want to go and check these 2 out, because they're going to be quality content for you and your eyes and viewing pleasure. Alright. Take it easy, and I will see you on the flip side.